bring back Sammy Darko. Thanks for joining us again. Sammy Darko is the Director of Strategy and Communications at the OSP. I think my first question is that when I listened to the two guests I had yesterday, there are two schools of thought. One believes you wasted time because he thought the matters were straightforward. This is Martin Kwebu's view, that from the time that you got to know about the SML matter, the OSP ought to have investigated and invited Mr. Ofori-Atta much earlier. The other group is the lawyer who is basically saying, finish your work, go ahead, even if the man is not available, use the right process to get information from him, but don't come out in the press and call him a fugitive. So those are like two extreme positions. It seems to me as if you are somewhere in the middle. All right, so I want you to start your intervention from there, where one group thinks you are too slow, another group thinks you are in a hurry to name people in the public when you have not finished your work. What is the OSP's view on these two accusations?
Bernard, thank you and good morning. Isn't that the beauty of democracy, where some people think that the OSP is even useless, others think that the OSP is very relevant? I think that both angles are okay, depending on where you are standing. So sometimes civilians or non-law enforcement persons may think that the law enforcement agency is dealing with a case. And they can comfortably say that because they have not been involved in such a case. By sitting back, you may think that we have been very slow. I've heard arguments about we being slow. For instance, if you take National Cathedral, it took Shraj a while to do a civil investigation. They came up in November 2024 to say that they want to refer the matter to the OSP if the OSP thinks it's necessary. And OSP thought it was necessary, and we went into it from November. SML, yes, the SP has explained. Manasseh filed the complaint to the OSP. We started investigating. In between, there was a KPMG report, and you have to wait for it so that there's no duplicity and all that. Investigations sometimes take a while. I have followed carefully other law enforcement agencies, from police to FBI and the rest. Sometimes they can even take 10 years on a case. No, I mean, we are in a hurry in this country, and we always want things done faster and all that. It's important. I think that people have become so impatient because they think that there is corruption, there is financial crime, and nothing is happening. So I can understand the agency on the part of people. But also do note, even this particular OSP, we have worked under very extreme circumstances. The OSP had survived 2 attempts to collapse the office. The SP himself has gone through an impeachment twice. The OSP, yes, it now has staff. It's now resourcing the office through its little budget. And people say, oh, we have staff. Yes, when you have staff, we got our full complement of our staff in 2023. They've now gone through probation and all that, almost 1 year probation. You just don't start and put people into action like that. You need to train them and all that. So I understand Martin and those who say that the OSP has been slow, but they have also forgotten that the OSP has gone through a lot and has survived and has maintained a stance that it will do an independent work. Then those on the other side who think that the OSP is not following the law, I have said that it's just born out of a misunderstanding of the OSP law. For instance, people have said, you notice in the lawyer's comment, he has said, Charles Bisu matter, there was an arrest warrant and blah, blah. In the Charles Bisu matter, it was a very simple, clear case. We wanted to arrest Charles Bisu. He runs to court and said that we have procured an arrest warrant unlawfully to arrest him. And his lawyer sworn to an affidavit that we did. And we said that, we told the court that we don't need an arrest warrant to arrest Charles Bisu, and that we have not procured any arrest warrant. They tracked this matter, and then they lost. He didn't want to say it on air. He lost. The court threw out and punished them with a compensation. And they decided to go to the Supreme Court and file other actions. And Mr. Ofori-Atta, the OSP has an arrest warrant for his arrest. How do you obtain an arrest warrant if there is no charge? And if we say we need his presence, some people have said that we can proceed without him. Yes. And as Lawyer Martin People explained, if we have taken his caution statement and taken him through all the. You can come to police station or OSP and say you won't talk, but that doesn't mean that we are not going to take your charge caution statement for you to sign and do all those other fingerprints have to be taken and all that. That has to be done in an office.
The other question was about your recourse to the public, and I think we discussed this when you had left the show, when he said the law that sets you up is very clear as to how you should communicate your work, and that you give, I think, quarterly or half-year reports or something, and that he felt like the OSP's resort to press conferences was not the best, particularly when a matter was still under investigation, because it could turn out that the way you put out the information about the investigation could sort of smear a person until the matter is concluded. What's your response to that?
Bernard, thank you very much. The OSP has been very professional and careful in handling people's reputation. It's the reason why we just don't tell Ghanaians what we are doing until we are almost done with it. Because we also do understand that people have rights and all that. And even what we have to do, we are saying that this person is either a suspect or we are investigating this person for that. As you said, our law and the OSP is very different. Anytime we say this, people don't want to understand. It is a specialized agency, which we say we are not a regular law enforcement agency. And it is only the OSP that is obligated by law to brief Ghanaians every 6 months. And it tells us what we are supposed to do. But people forget that even the 6 months briefing is not the only obligation on our part. If you go to our legislative instrument, particularly you look at Regulation 31, it gives OSP a tall list of things it has to do, including educating the public, briefing the public on its work, and the preventive things they are doing, including trying to change culture. How do you fight these things in silence? You need to put it out. So, because the whole idea behind the OSP is for it to be a very transparent, independent body, so that nobody accuses us of witch hunting or anything, because the OSP is independent. So, the criticisms of the OSP that it is too transparent is neither here nor there. I think that even for public agencies like the police, Yoko, and the rest, even if we put this in their laws, it will even help Ghana so that Ghanaians are able to know how they are working, how the cases are going. But we have been very careful. If you read our half-yearly report, we hardly will mention people's names or why we are investigating or why we are doing it. We will only bring it out when it's extremely necessary. In this instance, we could have chosen to just issue a wanted notice. But we thought that in order for Ghanaians to understand and follow how things are going, we have to do a press conference. And the focus has just been on Ken, but there are several other cases that was done. But my point of clarification is that I think that it's time that people even tell the OSP that it has done well. Because first, it started that the OSP has gone to raid Ken Ofori-Atta's house. This has turned out to be a palpable lie. And I'm expecting those behind it to eat humble pie and come back and tell Ghanaians that we got it wrong. The OSP never went to Ken Ofori-Atta's house. And the OSP has said that if we are coming to your house, you will know that we are coming to your house because you'll be part with us. So that thing is what we are trying to tell.
But Sammy, you need to agree that there was only one media publication that linked the raid to OSP. Indeed, apart from the Herald, almost all the reports on the raid did not know who was behind it. So I'm not. What I'm saying is that, so let's not make it seem as if all the media or the general reportage was that it was the OSP's activity. It was only one newspaper that did that, and even they said it was on the basis of what somebody in the house had said to them. Now,
but they said that the wife of Mr. Ofori-Atta told them.
Yeah, but that's what they are. But you cannot base.
I understand you.
I mean, what I'm saying, but I think that point is clear. But I'm saying that the main question for us will be, even if it's not the OSP that's doing this, right? But if somebody who has been recognized as from the national security outfit is the one photographed leading the people, it's also a problem. because it is going to affect your work. You are doing a press conference at 10:30 to give us an update on the Mr. Ofori-Atta matter. Then the night before your press conference, somebody leading national security people goes into the person's house to do the raid. Obviously, it will. So do you understand the point? It will affect your work.
I understand your point.
In fact, is that not a parallel? No. We have exposed the point about the fact that it wasn't you. But I'm saying beyond that, it's still a problem to have a national security outfit. Are they not interfering with your work, or are you doing a parallel investigation? Are they aware of what you are doing? There are too many questions.
Let me answer this question, but I crave your indulgence one more time. I'm saying that the people who told the Herald and the people who told the media houses, say CT, Asasi, and the rest, at the time of telling the media, they had these photos. And they knew clearly that this was not OSP. Indeed, lawyers for Mr. Ofori-Atta wrote specifically stating what happened there, whether it was OSP or not. The point I'm making is that there was a mischief there. It is also reasonable to think that, okay, the OSP might have come to Mr. Ofori-Atta's house. But the point I'm making is that the OSP already has an established style and format. And that ties into something that one of your panelists was saying. I think that we ought to understand some things also. Nobody is above the law. Institutions work within the law, whether police or OSP. There is something we call an emergency search. Emergency searches do not require a warrant. So if you come to the OSP Act and you read section 34, or if you read section 34, it talks about searches in emergencies. That you don't need a warrant. But any other search, a law enforcement agency will require a warrant. But the point I'm making is that the people who told the media about this story had pictures of people, and they could have told them that these were the people who came, rather than spreading it on social media and making it seem that the OSP is apt to do something that's very bad.
Yeah, I see that you are very interested in defending the reputation of the OSP. Yes. But what I'm saying to you is that is true. But the fact that national security is raiding a house of a man you are investigating, and you actually thought it was a staged raid, only to find out that it was actually a national security raid, is a bigger problem, because it either tells us you are not working in line with national security and you are not required to do so, or the work they do is a parallel work they are doing which can affect your work. So whichever way you look at it, it's a much bigger problem for national security to be involved in this at the level they did the night before your press conference. That's what I'm saying to you.
I agree with you, but I also want to take time to just explain. I'm just saying that I do not know whether it's national security or not. You've said that it was stated in Parliament and people have been identified. At this stage, as a law enforcement person, I would say that I do not know until national security releases a statement and talk about what it is that they were doing. But if you're aware, in this country, several other people's homes they visited and all that, I think I've heard all that, but it was never linked to us. The point I'm making to you is that the OSP is an independent law enforcement agency, but we work in an ecosystem. And the ecosystem is such that whenever you require the intelligence of other agencies, you will fall on them for that. But sometimes when you are doing your investigation, specialized investigation, you will focus on that. Remember, we are just working within our remit, which is corruption and corruption related. There can be several other offenses that a person can face. So let me give a typical example. When we were investigating Madame Cecilia Dapa, we were investigating and looking for corruption and corruption related. But when it turned out that we were finding more of money laundering, tax evasion, among others, we noticed that it's not within our jurisdiction. But many people have assumed that money laundering and the rest are also corruption. Of course, in the broader term, it is corruption. But the law defines what is corruption and what is money laundering. So once the law doesn't allow us to do money laundering, we will share that intelligence with the one who is supposed to do money laundering for the person to take over. But at the time we were doing our investigation, we would not know if another agency is also doing an investigation in relation to, say, money laundering. But we accept that Ghana needs to progress, work better, so that institutions are able to in between share, so that we don't do double work. But I'm also saying that per the nature of the divided offenses each agency is able to handle, it's possible that one person can face 3 different agencies, because agency A may be looking at, say, causing financial loss, money laundering. Agency B may be looking at corruption, procurement breaches. And that may not necessarily mean that the person is being subjected to or being bombarded or being or somebody is deliberately trying to torment the person.
Good.
It may happen that the person's action may fall in 5 different jurisdictions of law enforcement agencies.
A follow-up. Does the AG need to know about your activities? I asked this because yesterday during the AG press briefing, he was asked by one of our colleagues whether he knew about what you were doing in relation to Ofori-Atta, and he said he learnt it through the media, which I thought was quite interesting, an answer to hear from an Attorney General, because I thought that the OSP and Attorney General's office work quite closely. So again, this was public information, so you can check. But yesterday it was a live press conference on air, and one of the journalists asked him, and that was the answer he gave. So my question to you is the OSP in contact with the AG's department in relation to these matters?
Well, I wish you had not asked me this, because this is quite a bigger matter that has to be solved at the top. We all know the genesis of the creation of the OSP. The lawmaker tried to insulate the OSP from the control of the executive. And so in the scheme of our current law, the OSP is very independent, and it's not an agency listed under the Attorney General's office. No, it is not. It is for that reason that the OSP submits its budget differently. So you see that Attorney General's office covers a lot of agencies, including EOCO, how do you call those who do legal aid and all the other things. I think that it's a much bigger issue that has to be looked at. The OSP Act says that because Attorney General is justice, the OSP is supposed to send a report on prosecutions that it has embarked on and the outcomes. That presupposes that in the form of investigation and then charging people and going through the trial, the OSP has been given a level of independence to be able to do that. So the fact that the OSP and the Attorney General relate may not necessarily also mean that everything the Attorney General will be aware of, but the Attorney General will obviously be aware of the outcomes of the prosecutions of the, because remember, it is the AG that has ceded a part of his power to the OSP to be able to prosecute. And that ties into, again, the confusion about what is the OSP. The OSP is a law enforcement agency. The OSP is an anti-corruption body. The OSP is an asset recovery body. And the OSP is a preventive body. These 4 things have been put in one. And that has also created all the confusion. Some people even think that the OSP cannot even bear arms. But the OSP is allowed to bear arms. The OSP is allowed to have its cells. It's able to arrest you and all that. So, again, I have said in this country that there were too much fanfare rather than explaining this creature that we have created, so that we all come to understand how the OSP works, and that the OSP is not unnecessarily doing things that are unlawful or illegal.
So fair enough. The fact that there is a new body, with the public needs to understand much better what you do. My final question to you: some people think that maybe because it's a new government, you're also trying too hard in terms of the way you went hard on Ofori-Atta and the way he was described by your boss. Some people may think that, well, in the previous government you did come out, but the way you are going about it, maybe you are trying to get the government to trust you, which is why you are going against somebody who is seen to be the emblem of the Akufo-Addo regime. What's your response to that?
It's a very good question, and I think that people are also right to reasonably say that. But if you study the OSP under the second special prosecutor, he has a mandate to discharge. He understands that he has a fixed tenure, non-renewable 7 years. And he also does understand that he can be impeached based on evidence of wrongdoing. And so the office is not in a hurry to please anyone. In fact, this office was created when the new Patriotic Party was in government. And yet, a lot of things that happened had to do with investigation involving appointees of the new Patriotic government. In fact, the OSP has investigated the current president and found out that there was no evidence. So I think that the record shows that the OSP has consistently remained independent and has not allowed any political coloration or any emotions to affect what it does. The point is that when we are able to sufficiently have evidence against you and we think we will move, we will move. We have put people before the court. In fact, today as I'm talking to you, we have filed charges in the High Court in Tamale against 4 persons that were involved in what was the term for it? In the payroll fraud.
Payroll fraud, yes.
Yeah, we filed charges against them there. But people won't raise any issue because they do not think that these people are so top up there. The point I'm trying to make is that we are doing our best. It's not every case that we're able to follow to the end. The OSP has been able to exonerate people. For instance, if you take the Honorable Atachia, we went into a complaint against him and we realized there was no evidence. We didn't follow it up. We have done severally for other people. Even the former Minister of State and the Finance Minister, Dubois, we came out and said that he may have done something wrong, but there isn't a direct offense, and people took us on. So we have demonstrated that we are not just interested in prosecuting people, but we are only interested in prosecuting when we have sufficient evidence to be able to go to court. And we have told Ghanaians that the special prosecutor has made this clear that for him, he's more interested in prevention of corruption. If Ghanaians will wake up and think that, hey, I don't have to do this corruption thing because sooner or later, the OSP may find out. And when the OSP finds out, it will not be palatable. And people will have that restraint. And there will not be any impunity in engaging in corruption. Then he will say that he has achieved something. So people should understand that we don't take pride or joy in wanting to send people to court. That's why we take our time and don't even let the public know those we are investigating until they give us cause to do so. And so, Bernard, Ghanaians should bear with us. I know that majority of them understand. But in this country, people thrive on chaos and confusion. If they can throw a wheel in a spanner and there's chaos and confusion, they are able to get away with it. And so anything you do, you are going to get people talking. We are open for criticism. We believe that we can do better. We are a young agency with experienced people in it. We are growing. We are developing more of our processes and procedure. As we interact more with the public and Ghanaians, they will get to understand us. There are some lawyers who have been to the OSP, and they will tell you how nice and professional we are when they visit us at the OSP. You have never heard OSP denying people bail here and there and all that, because we are interested in the evidence. And we are interested in the fact that if you decide not to cooperate, we can also apply that means to get you to cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy Darko, Director of Strategic Communication at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Really appreciate the time to explain matters.